Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering total victory as woke law firms cancel race-based hiring. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. Edward Blum has done it again. And who is Edward Blum? Edward Blum is the guy that worked for years to overturn affirmative action and finally won. He's the guy that got it done in Supreme Court. And then he went after law firms. And now he's beaten law firms. So now it's time to move on to ripping companies apart that push this discriminatory, illegal, diversity-based hiring. From Bloomberg Law, Blum says he's done suing law firms as Winston yields on DEI. Edward Blum has sued 3 big law firms over their DEI language in hiring. Winston Strawn appears to have changed its program criteria. That's the law firm. Affirmative action foe Edward Blum said a group he started that files lawsuits challenging diversity programs has no new plans to sue any more law firms. Quote, "There's nothing left for us to do in that space," he said in an interview. And that's bragging. He's gotten them all beat. Law firms are no longer raising red flags with their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, he said. However, a researcher for his group still combs websites of hundreds of law firms looking for any evidence of programs he views as illegal, he said. Blum's 2-year-old group, the American Alliance for Equal Rights, has filed lawsuits against some of the country's most elite firms, including Perkins Coie and Morrison Foerster. The suits allege that the firm's diversity programs discriminated against straight white men, which is ridiculous. Why would you care what the skin color is of your employee? Why would you care what their sexual preference is? What does that have to do with the law firm? Aren't you hiring them just to do lawyer stuff? Why would they need to have to prove who or what they're attracted to work at the company? That's why the lawsuits worked. The alliance withdrew the suits after firms removed mentions of race or gender in their program's hiring eligibility criteria. Other firms have quietly made similar changes to their criteria out of fear of being Blum's next target. The alliance withdrew its suit against Winston Strawn on December 6th. The firm had until December 11th to respond to AAER's complaint that alleges the program is discriminatory. Winston Strawn has hired the same legal team out of Jenner and Block that defended Perkins Coie in that firm's AAER lawsuit. AAER is Edward Blum's operation. Winston changes. Winston hosts an annual diversity fellowship for first-year law students in collaboration with the Leadership Council on Legal Diversity. The program, which started accepting applicants on December 1st, has removed aspects of the eligibility criteria that made mentions of applicants' quote, membership in a disadvantaged and or historically underrepresented group in the legal profession, according to the archival Wayback Machine website. Quote, although we have updated the language for our program, Winston's abiding commitment to diversity, to innovative ways to enhance it, and to our LCLD Scholars Program will continue, notwithstanding the recent wave of litigation attacking the motivations behind the DEI program. According to the firm in a statement, Winston initially had defended its original language. Quote, your implication that the terms disadvantaged and historically underrepresented necessarily refer to race is baseless, said Cardell Spangler, managing partner of Winston's Chicago office, in an October 13th letter to Blum's legal group. Quote, Winston Strawn does not make employment decisions on the basis of race or ethnicity. The firm's summer program is a recruiting tool designed to boost diversity in their junior associate ranks. Fellows are paid at the rate of a first-year associate's base salary of $215,000. Certain fellows have a chance to receive an additional $50,000. The effects on recruiting. The changes in diversity language at law firms will affect recruitment, said Nikia Gray, executive director of the National Association for Law Placement. Firms that heavily rely on the programs for their junior recruitment will have to embrace new methods to meet their goals, she said. People of color make up less than 29% of associates at law firms, according to a 2022 NALP report. The report surveyed roughly 150 law firms. Attorneys of color make up less than 12% of partners at the firms. Diversity-focused programs are essential to the legal profession, according to Jean Coy, Program Committee Chair for the Leadership Council on Legal Diversity's Alumni Network. Coy was a mid-career fellow for one of LCLD's diversity-focused professional development programs in 2016 and became partner at her law firm the year after. She's part of the less than 5% of diverse women partners at law firms, according to the NALP's diversity report. Well, these fellowship programs are to create that pipeline and to create more leaders. So that cannot be an excuse for why in major corporations and law firms there aren't more minorities, more women, and more diversity, said Coy, a partner in Pillsbury Winthrop's labor and employment practice. Many programs now include mentions of applicants' commitment to diversity in the legal profession as a replacement for race-based criteria. Perkins and Mofo's revised fellowships began accepting applications in mid-November for their summer associate cohorts, which will join firms in mid-2024. Edward Blum is declaring total victory. It makes sense for the legal complaints to be withdrawn instead of facing a likely series of losses when a firm makes program alterations during litigation, according to Rich Sakar, who chairs LCLD's alumni network. Blum and others, quote, realize that if that was done, then there's nothing that they can really argue about, said Sakar. It was better that they filed the suit, see the program changes, declare victory, and move on, he said. Blum also led the group that sued Harvard University, the case in which the U.S. Supreme Court dismantled affirmative action in higher education. The High Court's June decision has opened a new avenue for scrutiny of private sector diversity initiatives. Private sector includes law firms, it includes public companies, it includes private businesses. If any new programs or issues arise that cause concern, Blum said his group would likely send a letter before engaging in any more legal action. The group puts firms on notice in a series of letters calling out their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Blum isn't the only conservative targeting private employers over their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Former Trump senior policy advisor Stephen Miller's group, America First Legal, asked the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to investigate Macy's Incorporated, as well as other corporations such as Kellogg Company and Activision Blizzard, over their discriminatory diversity initiatives. Despite the challenges, legal diversity leaders such as Coy said they remain adamant about staying the course. Quote, we need to be smart to deal with the potential political forces in our country. However, we still have this unwavering commitment to DEI that will continue to be our commitment for years to come. America First Legal Stephen Miller's group has been doing very well. Coming from the Hill, Stephen Miller's legal group saw a major jump in revenue last year. Longtime Trump advisor Stephen Miller's legal group saw a major jump in revenue last year, raising $44 million, significantly more than the $6 million it raised in 2021. Miller's national nonprofit America First Legal, registered as a 501c3, saw a near 600% revenue jump, according to a Bloomberg News analysis of tax filings provided by Accountable US, a progressive watchdog group. The revenue increase comes after the group started filing more lawsuits focused on challenging major law firms, school districts, and corporations that it describes as radical and woke. Miller's group tackles controversial culture war issues, particularly when it comes to transgender rights, diversity in hiring programs, immigration, and even aiding Trump in his mounting legal battles. America First Legal opposes the radical left's anti-jobs, anti-freedom, anti-faith, anti-borders, anti-police, and anti-American crusade, according to its website. Now, I've covered a lot of their stories, and I'm very happy with what they're doing. As a registered 501c3, the group does not have to disclose its donors, which is significant considering the majority of its revenue, $27 million, came from one single donor. Miller himself saw his paycheck grow from nearly $77,000 to $186,000 last year, according to the filing. During Trump's tenure in the White House, Miller was the top advisor who made headlines with his hardline approach to immigration. He now serves as America First Legal's president and executive director. Blake Masters, a current candidate for Arizona's 8th congressional district, is also on the group's board. Masters previously lost in the 2022 Arizona Senate race to Mark Kelly. America First Legal is part of a network of groups run by former Trump advisors. Judging by numbers in the tax filings, the group has been significantly expanding its influence in the lead up to the 2024 presidential election. It seems like diversity, equity, and inclusion is everywhere. It's expanding into content. It's already in all the workplaces. But it is getting pushed back on, and they're being forced to retreat. Guys like Edward Blum, Stephen Miller, and others are out there fighting it back, challenging them in court, and they're winning. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.